Hi,
Hi,
Chef. How are you? It's
good,
so good to
Rupali. How
so good to see you, Chef. So I was,
Thanks.
everyone is really excited to see you here because,
Thanks.
like I was just mentioning that Chef is a chef with many hats, and it'll be a pleasure to hear it right from you. So
Well, I'm
if you
looking
could,
forward to it.
Chef, if you could talk a bit about your journey, it'll be really nice for the viewers.
Sure, sure. Well, my journey, I just got home from work, so we've just we've had a busy COVID service, that as many as we could do, probably half the amount that we normally do. But my journey is stretching out to many years now, 4 decades. Started as a young boy in a kitchen close to my parents' home. I originally was born in England, and then I lived in Sri Lanka in our family home, and then from there we moved to Australia, which is where I started to cook. And from that time, I've cooked since the age of 15 and worked in all over the world. I've been executive chef in hotels, owned my own restaurants. I run restaurants, consulted, written books, done TV shows. So I've kept, I guess, the thing about cooking is it's such a hard job that I think you need to be multifaceted to keep your mind and your body going. And I think in about 1986, which seems a long time ago now, but I was probably 10 years into my career then. And I really started to think about my Sri Lankan roots and how I would take those flavors from Sri Lanka and then bring them to a five-star table. And it's been a goal I've been chasing all those years. Interestingly, in Australia in those days, the cuisine was quite basic, but there were a few really good chefs, and everybody was cooking French food. So, when I got back from being overseas, I worked in London, and I actually I had my 21st birthday on the banks of the Ganga in Varanasi. And I traveled through India for a full year and went to Sri Lanka afterwards, and then London. But I did all those things, and I honed my French skills. And by the time I got back to Australia, I was really yearning to try, bring out my food, my nationality, my heritage. And it was a chef called Neil Perry, who a lot of people do know, very famous chef in Australia. I got my first job straight after that was with him, and he was cooking Asian food, and I thought, who is this guy cooking Asian food when he's not even Asian? And it really clicked something in my head to think I am going to try and push our national cuisine into the forefront. Now, Indian cuisine has been there forever, and India has always been an incredible, I guess, an entry point when it comes to culture and cuisine for the whole world. But Sri Lanka was like sitting underneath India's umbrella. And my idea was that I wanted to bring Sri Lanka's own umbrella into the food arena. And traveling through India, it's incredible. Every 20 kilometers, your cuisine changes. It's
Changes,
amazing.
yes.
And it's wonderful, and everyone's so proud of their food and so incredibly passionate about what they do and the food. And so I thought to myself, how do I do this with Sri Lankan food? And slowly taking, the humble Sri Lankan cuisine, which is really a vegetarian-based, flexitarian meal. I mean, you'd have 5 vegetables and one piece of meat in your curries, but there are so many different variations. Now, the thing that I needed to be able to do was to put that onto a five-star plate. And so I've been working on that for a long time. I feel I'm nearly there. I think for chefs, our journey never ends. We're always experimenting. We're always trying to create, and we're always trying to be different. But I feel where I am now, I'm in Noosa, which is a holiday town. And luckily for us, we're probably the only place in Australia that's still not locked down. And
Wow.
yeah, and everyone's coming. The people
And
that
it's
can.
you have no cases over there, no COVID cases.
None in Queensland has zero. But
Wow.
Melbourne was in big trouble. They've been shut down. Then Sydney started to get it, so they were shut down. So our borders tonight at midnight shut. No one is allowed in from the south. The northern borders are still open, so we can travel north and west, but no one from the south can come in to the north. So we're kind of like a little enclave. And we're very lucky. Look, so many people are struggling out there, and I think it's so important to recognize and realize that. And my fellow restaurateurs who have rent to pay, who have wages to pay, and all of those things, I really feel for everybody. And it's not just that airline, so many people have struggled. But, you know, I was looking at biryani by kilo. What do they do? 150 lakhs of home delivery. So, you know, anyone that is stuck and everyone that hasn't got a job, think about cooking from home and selling your food. That's a good business these days.
Yes.
So look, the end of my journey will come when I die. I travel on this journey for all my life. It's about food and people and how you treat people and culture and respect and all of those things. You never stop learning. So I'm looking forward to today, and I'm really happy that you invited me to Rupali. It's always good to see your face.
And I still remember when I had visited Nusa, and
Yes.
and I was shooting for my channel, and you made us a lovely Sri Lankan recipe, which I think you're going to make again today at some point.
What did I do then? What did I do then?
Chef, you made the devilled chicken.
Oh, did I? Oh my God! I wouldn't have made it if I hadn't known that. Well, only a few people saw it. So
and you also made some crabs.
Yes.
So I remember
today. Yeah. Sorry, go on.
I remember singing crab, crab, crab.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, that was a long time ago. What was that? 4 years ago?
That was a long time ago. I think maybe 4 years or something. Yeah. But then again, it was so good to see you in India, and I hope you keep coming to India. And
I can't wait to return. That was such a great trip. The whole table stories idea is such a great idea to bring a whole lot of chefs together and to roll out these incredible dinners with different thoughts and. Everyone from the subcontinent, that's what I love the most, is that everyone that came in my table stories was from the subcontinent. And we've got so much to be proud of. There's a guy called Mario Pereira, who's a Sri Lankan man who has just become the executive chef of the Dorchester in London. And, that's massive. That's such a great achievement. And I don't think it matters where you're from or who you are. What we do, our cuisine is so, our lives around food is so much about passion. Because if you don't have that, it's pointless trying to do this. It's too hard. It's too hard. I started my day at 5 a.m. It is now 10 past 10. And I know, because
I remember when I messaged you, you were busy getting ready for work. And
yes.
I'm going to see you in the evening.
Yeah, well, we sold a few lobsters today, and it was a good day. We did a few events, so very happy.
So, Chef, tell us something about Flying Fish, a little bit about it, because it was such an iconic restaurant. And
yeah. So I was executive chef of a massive resort in Queensland, and I just got a phone call out of the blue, and they said, "Do you want to come and do a restaurant? We'd like you to be a partner in the business." And so that was the initial part of this. And I went in and it was an iconic restaurant. The build of the restaurant was incredible. The money that was spent, it was the largest spend on a build of a restaurant in that time, and it took so long to build because we had so many delays and so many problems, and the build up was massive. It went for probably a year and a half before we opened the doors, but the doors opened, and it was where my Sri Lankan style really got to first be, I guess, appreciated by the Sydney crowd and by people who came there. And so it was a waterfront restaurant looking at the back of the harbour bridge next to the industrial port. And so all the big container liners used to come down the harbour and aim the bow of the boat directly at our front doors. And then right at the last minute, the towboat would take it around the corner. And so, it was a spectacular setting. We focused on seafood. we had a sushi bar, we had a raw bar, and then quite a small kitchen. But the idea was, again, just fresh, beautiful food with a Sri Lankan twist. It's like the Olympics, you know. It's like two twists and a twirl with a touch of Sri Lankan, and that's what I've always tried to do, is to try and focus on the freshest possible seafood, and then cook it in the simplest way, and then add some Sri Lankan flair to it. And it seems to have, it's carried me for a while. I was there, I had that place for 10 or 12 years. Then a partnership bust up, you know, things happen in this business. But the crazy thing is that in any situation, and I say this to a lot of people now with COVID, yes, there's a lot of bad things that are going on for lots of people, but you've got to be able to try and pick the good things out of it. And there are so many positives if you look hard, if you don't sit there on your hands and complain, but if you can look around, you will find opportunities. And as I said, this takeaway business, the biryani by kilo, doing 150 lakhs of biryanis over this time. And, you know, I just think the people who look will always find opportunities. So never look at things in a negative way. Always look, there's always a silver lining. So Flying Fish was that. So Flying Fish was an amazing silver lining for me, because it really cemented my position in Sydney. And by that stage, we have a hat system, which is like a Michelin star. And by that time, I think I was in about my 18th year of hatted restaurants. So year after year after year, I was in this guide, and we opened with 2 hats, like 2 Michelin stars, and that was incredible. The team that I had was amazing. They came with me from the hotel, and it was a collaborative restaurant where everybody had a say. I wasn't the only one that was telling everyone what to do. Everybody had a say. And that's how I run most of my kitchens. I prefer that all the chefs can have a say, because, you know, sometimes you look at the first year apprentice, and that first year apprentice, you may have been peeling, you know, may have been squeezing a lime this way all your life, but the apprentice might say to you, why don't you do it like this? And if you listen and you keep your eyes open, you continue to grow. And I feel that I've never stopped learning because of the other people in the kitchen, and because I've freed their minds to allow them, and then we learn together. So Flying Fish was a great success. It was a great success. And when it ended, not so well, but who cares? You know, that's business, that's restaurants. We turned over lots of money, and as lots of restaurants do, we didn't make a lot of money, but we turned over a lot of money. But it finished, and I was standing in my backyard in the middle of winter in Sydney, and thinking, what am I going to do now? And the phone rang, and it was some American guy who just purchased a hotel in Noosa, and he said, hey, we've got a restaurant here. Would you like to have it? And so that was the next step to Noosa Beach House. Things happen, you know, don't chase them all the time. Sometimes work really hard, and I think some things will come to you. Some places it's a lot harder. A lot of people work very hard and they get nowhere, but you have to work hard and always have your eye on the ball, you know, the eye on the prize, the next thing that you can go for. And then be good at what you do. And in our business, be passionate. People don't like to eat food when people, you know, I think you can taste it when a chef's angry. I think if the chef's happy, the food will taste good. And I think that's the way we all need to be. Those old days of screaming and shouting, they're gone. Let's just all work together and create amazing food using beautiful ingredients. That's my philosophy.
Yeah, I think that's a great philosophy. And Chef, have you ever tried your hand at making an Indian biryani?
Yes, I'm not good at it, but you know what? Yes, I have. Well, you know, in Sri Lanka, we call it the Biryani. And the Sri Lankans love a biryani as well. But, you know, we've had this discussion before, Rupali. I think our northern cousins, the southern Indians and the Sri Lankans, have a lot in common. You know, going on the streets I'm trying to think of where it was. It wasn't Kerala, but it was on the way to Kerala. And some guy was making kottu roti. And I was thinking, hang on, that's Sri Lankan. And then I went to another place, and there's a lady, I can't remember where she was, again, on that trip between Madras and Kerala. And she had this small shop, and all she did would make string hoppers. And I said, hang on, that's Sri Lankan. And then appam. You know, appam, but the Indian appam's soft. The Sri Lankan one's crispy. But those similarities are always there. And, you know,
And why is it more crispy, if we can get the secret?
Well, we use toddy to ferment it. So you know, the store-bought ones are made with the yeast, but if you use toddy, the outside crust goes very crispy. Rice flour, coconut milk, and toddy, and a nice warm temperature to ferment it. But then, you know, making a biryani or making a torse, as we call it, or a dosa, as you call it, it's all about the technique, isn't it? It's all in the way it's made. And I've got a Southern Indian kitchen hand, and I made the mixture, and I was putting it on the tawa, and it was sticking a bit and everything. He came along, same mixture, did it, dropped a little bit of oil here and there, put a bit of water, bang, 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 and it was done. So it's all technique. And again, that's what it's about, isn't it? It's about opening your eyes and looking and learning, and then ending up, you know, being able to master different techniques from different countries. But the biryani, after I had a look through this site, this page, we have in Sri Lanka something called a hatti, which you do in India as well, an earthenware pot. I have a lot of small ones. I'm thinking that my next menu, I'm going to put a biryani on the way these guys do it. Sealed, send it to the table sealed, and let the customer crack it. The Australian audience would just go crazy.
Yeah. And these guys also use rice, which is aged for 2 years. It's premium basmati.
Yes.
And they also get the spices from Kerala. So they try and make it as authentic as it can be. And when you open that, you know, the sealed pot, the aroma is something else.
I can imagine. I tell you, one of the great memories I have of Kerala is the toddy shops, the seafood and the toddy shops over the water. That was amazing. At first, I was like, sorry, go on.
Those little shack kind of places, they're called the military hotels.
Yes.
Over there.
Yes. Yeah. And the food is just fantastic.
And the non-vegetarian food, especially. I mean,
yes,
any kind of meat and seafood and with toddy, of course.
Yeah. Well, the toddy. I see in Sri Lanka we take toddy and we distill it, and we end up with a beautiful drink called arak.
Yes.
And coconut arak. It's absolutely stunning. So the toddy, I can take it or leave it. But the food that they serve there, every day.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
I think I wish we could travel again, and very soon.
I know.
I'm just dying to travel.
I know. I was thinking about that before. You know, I'm still getting alerts on my phone saying, "Oh, you should be here. You should be there. You should be there." And I think it's been 15 years since I haven't traveled every 6 or 7 weeks. And in many ways, it's been pretty amazing. Time at home, time with the family, you know, all of those things have been really, really nice. But I'm starting to get the itch again. I can't wait to come back to India, you know. I was supposed to be in Russia earlier on for the World Chef Congress, Cyprus. I was supposed to be all these crazy places. And, you know, a lot of my trips, sometimes like Russia, I was going for a 10-minute speech. And I would have stayed 3 days maybe at the most. Still, it's, you know, it's exciting. It's great to travel. But, you know, we are where we are, and we've got to make the best of it, all of us. And I think one of the interesting things about this whole situation is, I mean, I think India is a very food-safe country as well. You have a lot of, you know, resources as far as food. Australia is 100% food safe. Excuse me. We can definitely live without anything else, but what we're missing is the exports. So our beef and, you know, all of these things that we used to export to, say, China, to India and places, a lot of that has slowed down, and that is affecting our farmers. But the thing from my point of view that I'm starting to notice is that I think people are starting to focus back into their own country again. and to see how, I mean, India's been doing it forever. I remember when I was traveling, so it was it was 1983, my first trip after I finished my apprenticeship. It was unfortunately when Indira Gandhi was assassinated. I was in Delhi then. But, you know, even Cadbury's chocolate was made in India. Everything was made in India. And that was incredible for that time. And it's why India's become so wealthy, because they didn't have to import things. They just thought, we'll make it. The Indian Enfield motorcycle is one of the most popular motorcycles in Australia.
Wow. I'm
People
suddenly
love them.
feeling so proud of my country.
Well, you should be, because people love them because they're such a retro motorcycle. They've ironed out a lot of the problems. And normally you buy an Enfield and the thing starts the first time and then never again. But now they are in much, their engineering is so much better. And Tata trucks, you know. No, India always impressed me for being able to be sustainable and do its own thing and create, yeah, even your medicines. Everything's made in India. It's brilliant. It keeps the money in the country, and I think the rest of the world is learning that, how we need to do that and how we need to go back a little bit to the old days. The new days are fun as well, but I'm really anti. I don't know why we're wasting money going to space. That's my big. If you're going to ask me what my big bugbear is, why are we wasting money going to space? Let's feed some hungry people. You know,
Yeah.
$10 billion can feed a lot of hungry people. I'm on my soapbox now. That's the thing that really annoys me. Don't waste money. Look after our own.
Yeah. Because, and also these days, a lot of people are nervous here of, eating out or ordering food. So do you have something to say about that?
Well, look, you're a country of 1.4 billion people, or close to that, and it's very hard to social distance in a country like India. The food. Okay, let me put it in another way. I've traveled to India many times. I go to restaurants with the smallest menu with the most locals in it. That is the safest place. And I drink the boiling milk on the side of the road. I think I've learned to know what to avoid and what not to. But sanitation is a big thing. My question, and I've always been like this, is if we get too clean, then what's going to happen? We won't be able to deal with bugs anymore. You know, I think letting your children play on the ground is a good thing. Let them ingest some grubs and some germs, because we need to build up
Immunity.
an immunity. We really do. And I think sometimes we're getting a bit too carried away. Like in Australia, you see ads for all these sprays and everything to get rid of 99.9% of germs. But again, my question is, then what? So then do we just all walk around in a bubble? I think we've just got to breathe it in and deal with it. Safe food practices, yeah, it could be better in India, I'd say. But at the same time, I was working at the Rosebeer just before all of this happened, and those guys were amazing with their cleanliness and with their looking after HACCP and all of those things. So it's training. And here's another silver lining. If COVID has done anything for the entire world, it's made everyone wash their bloody hands.
Yes.
Everybody is now washing their hands, and that's a great thing. So that's not a bad thing. So there's an incredible takeaway. And maybe from the street vendor, the chaiwala, all the way up to the 5-star restaurant, everyone will have changed their way of daily hygiene, and that can't be a bad thing.
Yeah, that's true. And I think even Biryani by Kilo follows a lot of practices. They have those eco-friendly pots, as we just spoke about, and they check the temperature of their staff every 2 hours. So they try to be really clean, because obviously nobody wants anything wrong happening in their workplace or passing it to anybody else. So this is a very tricky situation, but thank God, by eating food, nothing passes. So that's a positive thing.
Yeah, and you know, like here, okay, so here we have strict rules within the restaurant. My restaurant tonight should have done 150 people. We did 65 because we have a square meter. So we look at the square meterage of the floor plan, and then we decide that's with the social distancing, that's as many people as we can do. When people come into the restaurant, they have to fill out a form. Look, now it's just on phone, which is important. And it's so if someone gets sick, then the government can trace it. Once they're inside the restaurant, it's like they're in a bubble. Everyone's sanitized. The chefs and waiters and the entire staff come through the resort through one entrance. The guests can only come in one way and leave the other way. We have people at the door. I feel in Australia anyway, dining is actually safer. And probably more controlled and more healthy than it's ever been. And that's not a hard thing to do, you know, create a sanctuary within your business. And that's a marketable thing for any business to say these are the practices we have. So yes, you know, you've just left the streets of, say, Calcutta, and you walk into my restaurant. And when you walk into my restaurant, you will first sanitize before you come in. You can't bring a bottle of wine because it's not sanitized. You have to buy the wine from us. And once you're in within our cocoon, and within this cocoon, you're not going to be more than 1.5 meters away from anybody else, and you will be safe. And it's worked the reverse for us. People want to come to restaurants because they know it's safe. I think that's what businesses in India should be doing too, is providing a safe place and a place that people are confident. We have, in the last 4 weeks, we've had maybe 10 inspections through the restaurant, through the kitchens, through the back of house, through everywhere. And we're ready, we're compliant. And there are other people who aren't compliant, and in Australia, when that happens, people just ring and say, you know, these guys are going to ruin our business. For me, I don't want and I can't afford another lockdown. You know, and what happened to Melbourne is I have so many friends there. There's so many Sri Lankan chefs, so many restaurants. Those guys have just spent thousands of dollars restocking their kitchens, and then they had to shut down again. And why? Because people didn't listen to these rules. So you can be an anti-vaxxer, you can be whatever you like, but look, this is real. It could be an experiment. Who knows what our governments of the world are doing? Who knows? The flu, you know, okay, here's a story for you, Rupali. I got to Delhi, to the Roseate, got out of the airport. This nice young man picked me up in a taxi, and we're driving, and I just come from Sri Lanka, and this is January. So January in Sri Lanka, they were already wearing PPE, gloves, sanitizer, chefs in the kitchen were fully done up, everything. So I come to Delhi, and Delhi was Delhi, right? Get to the airport, nothing has changed. Ask this young man, so what about this COVID? And he said, sir, we have so many diseases in this country that can kill you. This thing is a cold. We eat spicy food, it's never going to do anything for us. Look where Delhi is, right? And this is the first guy I saw. And that complacency obviously comes back to bite. But it was interesting to think that, you know, that was his thought. And yes, it does only affect older people at the moment. And maybe it's natural selection. Maybe there are other things that kill lots of people as well, like the flu and everything else. Are we making too much of it? I don't know. But when a community can get together and say, okay, this is what we think we need to do to beat it, and they all join the club, then you do beat it. But when, like what happened in Melbourne, I don't know what happened in Melbourne, to be honest. I feel so sorry for them. But obviously there were people who weren't listening to that, and they are in the situation they're in now. These guys in Melbourne now, they can't even leave their house. So if they have a house, they're lucky. But a lot of people live in apartments. They can't leave their apartment for 6 weeks. It's like going to jail. It's incredible. I feel for everyone. don't know how they're going to cope. Well, you can cope. Look, it's only 6 weeks. That's the other thing. See, positives. There's always a positive. It's only
It's
six
only
weeks.
6 weeks.
Yes, 6 weeks in, your life.
Yeah. And I was thinking, talking of spicy food, do we get to see your recipe now?
Yes, I've been waiting. I'm ready. Are you ready?
Yes, we are.
Okay, so you're just going to see my hands, all right? I'll try and I've rigged up something. What I'm going to do is take you through all the ingredients.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got, where are we? Here, capsicum chilies, an amazing Sri Lankan spice mix, tomato sauce. Hang on, I can't. How do I do this? I'm going to flip it. There we go. All right, so we've got capsicum chilies, tomato sauce. We've got some Sri Lankan spice paste, soy sauce, some Sri Lankan cinnamon, not cassia, curry leaves from my garden, some leeks, some onions, some pandan leaf, a lime, turmeric, tomato, coconut oil, and I've got this. You're supposed to use sugar, but I love this kitul pani. It's palm treacle, so I'm going to use a little bit of palm treacle, and then the chicken itself. What I've done with the chicken is just brush it with a little bit of chili powder, and then deep fried it, so it's all ready to go. And then I'm going to do this one-handed, one pan, and we basically combine all of this and come up with a lovely, beautiful deviled chicken. Now, deviled chicken, let me turn this around again. So deviled, I'm just waiting for the pan to heat up. The deviled chicken, I guess, is there's a bit of Chinese in there as well. Chinese people travel throughout the world, as we all know, and they have left their mark in many places. And I have a feeling that this is a combination of the Sri Lankan spice, using all the beautiful spices, but a little bit like a bit of a stir fry. I'm still laughing within myself, Rupali, thinking that this is what I cooked for you. I could not remember that. I seriously done something. But then again, maybe not everybody that's watching has seen that. All right, so I'll flip this again. So a guest today asked me where our coconut oil comes from. Now, the coconut oil that I use actually comes from Sri Lanka, and it's an interesting story because in Sri Lanka, for many, many years, we had a war, as you may know, 32 years of war. And coconuts, like in southern India, are a big part of life. And people always, use coconuts. In Sri Lanka, every family uses 1.5 to 2 coconuts a day for the milk, for the oil, for the husk, for everything. And so it's an integral part of life. And during these times of war, there was no money. So all the people who used to fertilize their coconut plants stopped doing it because they didn't have the money. And then they ended up ending up with organic coconut trees, which, as we all know, is very, very popular and wanted all over the world. All right, so let's go. I should be hot enough. I just put my onions in, my pandan, which we call rumpe. What do you call that in India?
So actually, we call it pandan only, but it's
Oh,
not
you do,
really.
yeah.
Yeah, it's much available in Thailand, so I can get it from there.
I love it. I love it so much. Okay, so we're going to get this sizzling a little bit, and then we're going to next
I think I
add the
can
leek.
get the aroma here.
Yes, can you smell? It's
Yes, I
smell-o-vision.
can.
And then some beautiful Ceylon cinnamon, which is really important to use cinnamon and not cassia. I know that cassia is used a lot in Indian cookery, and it has its uses, but in Sri Lankan cookery, it should be cinnamon. Okay, now your banana chilies and a little
Wow.
bit of flicking action. Get it all
And I
stirred. I'm
love the
doing this while
colors, the
looking at the phone.
green,
I
the
don't know
orange.
how I'm doing it. Pardon?
I said I love the colors, the green, the orange, the white.
Yeah,
Red.
it's a very vibrant dish. Now, this is the bomb. This is Sri Lankan chili paste. So
Wow.
it's made with dry shrimp, chili, sugar, and a few spices. And when I add this into here, it's going to get the dogs coughing in the backyard. I can tell you right now. So once the spice gets mixed through nicely and the aroma starts to come out, remember that I've cooked my chicken previously anyway. Then we'll put the tomato in. That moisture will start to come from the tomato now.
Yeah.
And then my chicken. A little splash of turmeric
Mm-hmm.
and a good stir. And now for the Chinese bit. Some soy sauce,
Mm-hmm.
some tomato sauce, and you know that tomato sauce and soy sauce makes what? Sweet and sour sauce.
Of course.
And then I've got some water which I'll just thin down the leftover tomato sauce with and add that. And that's got a little bit of corn flour in it, which will thicken the entire thing. And then we stir. Now, because this spice mix is so hot, I'm going to add my kimbula. Kimbula means crocodile.
Oh,
Yeah.
crocodile.
Yeah. I don't know why they're calling it crocodile. You can see the crocodile logo on it. This is a Sri Lankan
Yeah.
family who, in the north of Sri Lanka, who have a Palmyra palm plantation. And so the younger children have decided, rather than just harvesting the leaves and the wood or the toddy, they wanted to actually make some palm treacle. So they sent it to me all the way from Sri Lanka, which is lovely. Okay, so as this boils up, it'll thicken and get really nice. And of course, I always say this, my son says that me doing this now, I don't have two hands. Normally when I have another hand, what I do is put one hand underneath and squeeze this hand. And my younger son thinks that's my signature move when I'm on TV. So there's my signature move. And then we just let it cook gently. And it's such an easy dish. Now, you know how we've talked about this, Rupali, but food brings memories. And I'll
Yes.
tell you right now that this dish is all about me thinking about my father taking us to a beautiful hotel in Sri Lanka called the Mount Lavinia Hotel.
Oh yes,
And
I've been there.
yeah, it's and he and his friends used to drink a bit of arak and eat deviled chicken or deviled prawns or whatever it was, but it was always deviled. It's a really good snack to have while you're having a little tipple.
You
So
know, sorry, yeah.
yeah. No, go.
In India, we would call something like this chakna.
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 Right,
Like
and
have it with your, liquor.
yeah. It's good. It's a little in Fiji they call it chaser.
Okay.
All right, so that's it. Now I need you to taste some, please, Rapali.
Yes,
Ready? Here it comes.
I'm ready.
Ready? Yeah.
It's
Yum, yum,
delicious.
yum.
Yummy. And it's spicy. It's really
It's
spicy.
spicy, but it's sweet. It's sour. It's got a little bit of everything, and that's what you need when you're having a nice little beverage in the afternoon. So,
And I can taste
well,
the cinnamon. I can, I think it's amazing.
it's a simple dish. I'm going to plate it up, and then I'll do a final shot of it, and I think
You should
it's a
taste it
very.
as well.
Pardon?
You should taste this yourself.
I will. I'll turn the camera around in a minute, and I will give you all the reason to want to come either to Noosa or Sri Lanka. I know, the amazing thing about my last trip, speaking to so many people and guests who came to those dinners, they all had been to Sri Lanka. and they loved it, and they loved how different it was. And it's something that, yeah, I guess a lot of Western people don't realize that India and Sri Lanka are really, really different, and they are close cousins, but still very different in so many ways. So let me get a piece of this and let's see what it's like. I'll turn the camera around and we can finish this off with me having a bite. All right. Ready?
So I tried a bit of it, which was really nice. Now it's your
I'm
turn.
coughing. Pardon?
I said I've already tried it. Now it's your turn.
Now I'm coughing a bit because my dad used to always say that when you're making curry, if people in the house don't cough, then the curry can't be good, because you need to roast those spices. And that's that spice paste. You can actually buy it, but you can also make it, and I'm happy to share the recipe with you guys.
My
All
mouth
right.
is watering again.
It's a good snack. It's 11 o'clock here, so when I finish here, I'll be sitting down with this, with a nice cool beer. It'd be nice if it was a kingfisher or a lion, but
Wow.
I've got another one which doesn't matter. But look, let me tell you the flavors quickly. So the first is a little bit of sweetness. The spices come through, the cinnamon, the curry leaves, and then right at the end, a beautiful warmth of the curry and the chili. But not too hot. It's just a balanced mix of wonderful flavors that I think everybody, no matter where you're from, would like. So,
Wow, you're so lucky, Chef. You're getting to eat what Chef Peter Kuruvita just made. Wow, that's amazing. You are
it's a
lucky.
pleasure. It's always great to talk to you, Rupali. Thank you.
Thank you, Chef. Thank you for being here and taking out your time. It was such a pleasure. And I hope that when you come to India, you get to eat some biryani by kilo.
I'll be
And
there. I better have a few kilos for me.
we'll save some kilos for you.
I'll
And
be
also,
expecting some kilos.
yes. And they also make this jackfruit biryani. Have you heard of
I love
jackfruit?
So when I came to India, realizing that there are so many vegetarians, I made one or two of my courses of jackfruit, and it's such a versatile, amazing fruit, and a great replacement for the texture of meat.
Yeah.
It's incredible. It holds together. Yeah, it's stunning. You know, in Sri Lanka, the jackfruit tree is protected by the government because they call it the food of the people. Because the jackfruit tree, you know, it gives this massive fruit that can feed so many people. So you're not allowed to cut the tree down without government permission. And that when the fruit's overhang into different areas or it's on the boundary of a house, it's your right to be able to take the fruit that's hanging on your side. So it's a very important tree in Sri Lanka, and we have it. You know, the ripe, the yellow, the varaka. That's amazing when it's sweet, and when it's
When it's
sweet, like we used to take the seed out and dry it, and then my grandmother would cook the seed like a meat curry. That was incredible. And then green, the making a sambal or a madlum out of the green. It's so versatile. I love it.
I can totally imagine how it would taste, and I think when you're in India, we should have a lot of jackfruit biryani together and probably
Yeah,
learn something from you, maybe your grandma's recipe.
I would
Thank you
love that.
so much, Chef. It was such a pleasure, to see you after so long, and I
Yeah,
hope to see you in person soon. It'll
I
be
hope so too. Thank you, and thank you, everybody. It was very nice to see you all. And thank you for watching, and always thank you for having me, Rupali. It's always a pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you, Chef, and have a good night and enjoy
I
your
will.
chicken and give my love to
Yes,
Karen and the kids.
I will. Thank you so
Okay.
much. Thank you. Okay. See you.
See you.
Bye, everyone.